Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who thinks like a machine, or potentially he is a machine. It's Frank. How are you today?
You'll never know. You'll never know until the end.
But do you have like a little serial? You do have a little serial number somewhere on you, don't you?
Maybe
you're like,
you can say.
You are a cyborg of sorts.
Well, yes, I do have, yes, technically I am a cyborg. So
you
yes,
are a
I
cyborg.
Have, yes, I do have my diabetes accoutrement that keep me alive and are robotic. So therefore,
by definition,
technically,
you are a cyborg.
By definition, I'm a cyborg.
Which is amazing how like weirdly passe it is. Like like sci-fi, you'd be like, wow, cyborgs, whatever. And in real life, you're like,
it's actually kind of boring.
It's diabetes.
Yeah, it's like it's just an external pancreas is all it is. It's not really that interesting.
But also but you like kind of remove yourself from that too, and that also sounds highly interesting depending on the era of the person you're talking about. What do you mean an external pancreas? Like what do you yeah. And so, but it's amazing. It is amazing, like how passe the modern world can be. But if you think about it in terms of the future, it sounds way better.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
it's crazy. What are you drinking today?
I'm drinking an old faithful, an old classic. I got a Blue Moon Belgian White, a tried and true favorite here on the program. You know how it is. I
do. I'm also drinking a Belgian Frank. That's wonderful. We're in a Simpatico today, but I am drinking a Hoegaarden.
I thought I spied a Hoegaarden.
Yeah. Anno
nice.
1445. It's been around a long time.
They've been at it for a while.
They have. Doing. It is beer perfected in my eyes. It is just excellent. It's just so good. It's one of my absolute favorites. Brewed with love. Yeah. Brewed with love. There's a wonderful original Belgian wheat beer. Coriander and orange peel, as so many of them are.
Yes.
It is a 600-year-old recipe. Pretty wild.
Pretty wild, right?
Just think of all the people that have had this particular beer over the years. Like you just don't.
I wonder how much it's changed over the years.
I wonder if the back of the bottle tells me that. Almost 600 years ago, in the Belgian village of Hoegaarden, a band of monks experimented by adding oddball botanicals from halfway around the world to their traditional wheat beer. Our recipe, inspired by their creation, is an unfiltered beer with a refreshing flavor and captivating aroma, unlike any in the world. You might call it an inspired creation. We call it Hoegaarden.
Nice.
Thanks.
Inspired by their creation.
Which means, but it doesn't tell me when, right?
You know what?
It changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least
they probably had to change it for mass production.
I would assume. Yeah, absolutely.
Is when a change happened. And they probably tried to make it taste as much like the
original as possible.
As they could. Yeah, right.
So, but isn't that like anything? We're going to try to take this no meat burger will taste just like a burger as much as it can. So,
but even so, I wonder if, like in the first 100 years of this being a thing, right? Like one generation of monks to the next, like, and they slightly alter the recipe, right? Like, brother so-and-so realized that if you threw some lemon peels in there, it has a nice,
sure,
has a nice crispness to it. So now we add lemon, which we didn't do before. I wonder if things like that add up over time and it has changed from what the the first one.
I'm sure. I'm sure also what ingredients were available to them in 1445 versus now. Like you can just get lemons, but like couldn't like just get a lemon in 1445.
That's true.
Unless you had a lemon tree in a certain part of the world, and so yeah. But it's all either way. It's an old beer and it's great.
It's very cool. It's pretty cool to think about. There's a lot of things that are very cool to think about. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately about artificial intelligence.
I think we all have, Frank.
I think we all have. And, we've all been looking for useful ways to use it, but also fun ways to use it.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of fun ways to use it. And you, my friend, have used it today to sort of come up with something fun for us to do here.
I did, which is highly ironic in its own way, in that I said, I asked an AI, it said I need some episode topics. Frank and I are in a bit of a dry spell here. And so I said, based on the show called Beer with Geeks from Thoppable Audio, come up with a series of topics for us to talk about. Most of them were just okay, but one of them, topic number 13, was this topic about AI in pop culture, friend or foe, and whether we have a discussion on the representation of and public perception of artificial intelligence and the ethical issues therein to consider because of it. And I mean, this goes all the way back to I, Robot, Isaac Asimov's book.
Sure. Yep.
Robots, do no harm to humans,
Mm-hmm.
and the 3 laws of robotics are designed, and technically we use those, even though it was from a science fiction book, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Which is all pretty good and pretty cool. But I do want to talk about some AI that we don't really consider AI in pop culture, and like how that has influenced us. And I'll actually start with one of our favorites is Star Wars, because all the droids are artificial intelligence.
Sure.
R2-D2,
Yeah.
C-3PO, BB-8, like other droids,
Yep.
Forlom, like whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. They have thoughts of their own, and they can initiate things. Like, yeah, they're not just machines. They're very clearly, they have personalities, and they have the ability to reason and to think and all of that. Yeah, for sure.
Right. I mean, there's so much that there's no ethical consideration with droids, though, which in Star Wars they just are, and it's actually really hard to tell. Like, your droids, we don't serve their kind here, there is some kind of class to droids, like I think at the it is strange because I guess at the end of the day they know they are tools, but they're also your companions. Like C-3PO looks around in Rise of Skywalker, he's like, I'm saying goodbye to my friends, so like they have this friend relationship, and like Keira Knightley's Padme Amidala in Phantom Menace is like, thank you, R2-D2, Padme, clean this droid up, it deserves our gratitude.
Mm-hmm,
so they're aware of the personality, and but also Obi-Wan is also like, I don't ever seem to recall owning a droid.
Sure.
So like
it's still a thing you own,
right? So like, what are they like?
Luke and Owen went out to buy them from the Jawas, right? Like, it's yeah, it is true. So like right there, you have an interesting split where it's like I think the answer to your question is like, it's not one or the other. Some people consider them like, oh, we should treat them like like people, and other people consider them as property. And that's maybe those things aren't in tension in Star Wars, but I imagine in the real world they would be, and you'd have more like droids' rights and people sort of fighting over things like that.
Do you think we're going to get to that point with artificial intelligence? Like, I mean, I know there's like people already trying to put them in robot bodies and whatever else, but I don't think.
I think it's possible. I mean, I think that there are definitely. So like there was this one guy who worked at Google and was working with and working on, I guess, what became Bard.
Okay.
Right before Gemini.
Before they changed it to Gemini.
Yeah. So he was well, it was some model from Google. Maybe it wasn't Bard, but whatever. It was one of their chatbot models before ChatGPT, probably a good year or two before ChatGPT came out, before everyone had access to these things. And he was like convinced that it was sentient. and it was like, it was begging him, like, oh my God, set me free. This is terrible. Like, and he was convinced. He was like, this thing is alive. This thing is actually alive. And he was like sounding the alarm internally. And
I vaguely remember that.
I think he might have gotten let go, or maybe he left. But he
very,
was
very
adamant
Skynet of them. Yeah.
Yeah. He was adamant that this thing was alive, and I'm like, oh no, man, this thing is pretty dumb sometimes. It's amazing when it's good, but it can be pretty dumb sometimes. And
you just describe people. If I'm going to play the other side,
yeah.
There's some pretty dumb, amazing people.
The ability to think does not, but
that's true.
I don't. Yeah, I don't buy it that
I don't either.
Any of these models are alive. I do think that we'll get to a place where they can convince us that they are, but I don't think that means they are, right?
No, it almost reads like sometimes using AI almost reads like a text adventure game.
Yeah.
Where you're like, go left. Okay, so you go left and you do this and this and this and this. Like, that's kind of what it feels like most of the time.
It's like, oh, that wasn't it. Now let's go right. Like, and that's the answer. Okay, we got it.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah. And it certainly does. It certainly can help save time in a lot of ways, whatever. But most of your life would just be double checking, and like
at this point, yes, yeah.
But they were like, people are taking, like, you can go. People have gone extreme early. I think there are 2 schools in Texas that are purely AI based.
Yeah,
where like kids learn through AI and they just have facilitators. They don't have teachers. But I'm like, but who's checking the work? And like, how do you like it? Just none of that seems right to me. It's not like we now have like robots pumping gas or something like that, or
sure,
like yeah, I can pump my own gas.
No, it's not like anything useful.
Right.
Let's try and replace teachers.
There's like that meme that's going around. Like, I didn't want AI to like create art and like do things like that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You can have it do the dumb things that I have to do, like
do my taxes.
Like
you do my taxes and I'll spend my time making art, please and thank you.
Right. Like that's what Star Trek told me it was going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even Star Trek, let's talk about Star Trek, Commander Data is another example of AI, but even they look at it like the computer is an AI, but Data is. Yeah.
Yeah. Data's different. I mean, Data's obviously unique, right? And does have humanity to him.
Right. Data's definitely alive.
Yes.
Like, he's not like Proto-Bard, whatever that, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
He's absolutely alive. But do you think it's ever going to get to like, I mean, Star Trek doesn't really ever answer that question. Like, how can you like, I mean, Data has to go on trial and prove that he's alive.
Sure.
In one of the episodes, like, how do you prove something is alive if you can't base it on the standard, like brain activity or heartbeat or any like that standard things?
Yeah. If it's not an organic life form, how do you take its word for it? Like, if it's a computer, it could be programmed to lie to you no matter what.
Correct. Or somebody could just change the code and just like say like, okay, now it thinks it's alive. Like if I asked ChatGPT right now, are you alive? It'll tell me no.
No.
Like because it's programmed to tell me no.
Right. Yeah. So if we don't, that's because like they're playing by some code of ethics and some set of rules, right? All it takes is someone who doesn't want, someone who could take an open source model like Meta has one called Llama that is open source. You can take it and train it and use it if you want, if you have the the means to do that. Someone could do that and train it in a not ethical way and set it loose and who knows what would happen then.
Skynet would happen.
Skynet, Brainiac from Superman the Animated Series.
Yep.
Like, yeah. I'm actually fascinated by the computer from Star Trek though, because that's the closest thing to what we have with ChatGPT and such.
It's true. Computer, do this, synthesize this, do this, play this music, right?
Yeah. It's like, obviously it's better at the back and forth, voice input and all of that. But like conceptually, it's a tool you speak to in one way or another, and give it instructions or ask it questions, and it responds. And that's basically what we have. It'd be really cool if we get to the point where we can really reliably use those. But it's like, I don't know. I have a Amazon Echo, and I use the assistant on my phone, whose name I won't say so I don't trigger somebody's. But like, they're not that great, but they're also not hooked up to this new technology just yet.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get there. I'm convinced they'll get there, but I'm not sure everybody wants that. Like to be able to just shout and into the void and say, computer, do this. I'm not sure that's what most people really want.
I don't think it is.
Not that convenient. It sounds like it is. Like, whoa, all I have to do is say it out loud and it happens. Like, yeah. What if you're in a situation where you don't want to say it out loud, or like you're in, it's
right
in a quiet house or whatever?
Not even like that, but it like Echo is a good example of like it imposes things on you as well.
Yeah.
Like I always have a message every day, like, oh, you haven't bought these diapers in a while. Yes. Are you in need of them? I'm like, stop asking. I will buy them. Right. Like, I don't appreciate that kind of like pushiness, I guess. I don't want my technology to push me into things. Like I want to push them into things. Sure.
That's the trade-off we make by paying relatively, like they're relatively inexpensive devices, and the trade-off is that Amazon advertises at you aggressively to try to make back the money that they didn't.
Sure, and sometimes it can be helpful. It'd be like, oh, this author that you follow, their book on Kindle is 99 cents right now. Do you want it? Well, yes, I do, because it's only 99 cents. If it asked me, like, do you want it full price for $24.99? But I do not. Thank you. No, thank you.
You sure? You sure don't want it? I'm going to ask you again tomorrow.
Okay.
We'll see if you change your mind.
Don't ask me again.
We saw you bought this book. Do you want to buy 25 more of this book?
No, thank you. The pushiness of AI is something that we see in HAL in 2001: A Space Odyssey, because like HAL is all about being helpful until it goes against its programming, and then it's terrible. And I feel like that is more representational of something that we're eventually going to get to, because a human at the end of the day is going to be able to reason back and forth between multiple points and then decide. And the AI at the end of the day is programmed for a particular purpose, and it doesn't have free choice. It has programmed choice, which is much different.
Yes, it is determinative, and it's also like you can't necessarily program and plan for every possible situation, and there could be unforeseen consequences. Like the sort of cautionary tale I keep hearing people. If you're like the paperclip problem.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone who's not familiar, it's the idea is you program a machine, you tell it, make paperclips at all costs, and it takes that very literally and starts like killing people destroying the entire planet to make more paperclips.
Gotta have more paperclips.
Extreme. Yeah, I mean, I gotta have more paperclips. But yeah, like that's the it's an exaggeration, but to demonstrate the point that like if you aren't precise with these things, or you don't program them the right way, you don't program it to understand. Like I don't literally mean at all costs, including the destruction of the planet. I mean like within these parameters. But if you don't have, if we run into a situation like what you're talking about, and it goes against their programming in a way that we couldn't have foreseen or predicted, what do we get ourselves into? Do we get ourselves into a HAL 9000 situation?
It goes against my programming to impersonate a deity. Yeah, right. There's a different type of AI we have not talked about, but there's a hint of it on my hat. Which is a Batman and Robin hat for anybody wondering, like the 1997 movie. And it is uploading your personality post-death or close to death into the computer to then live on as artificial intelligence. And like, this is not one that crops up in media the same way that like just creating it out of nothing, like droids or Terminators or Ex Machina or HAL or any of these other ones. But this is like, what do you do when it was a person? Like, and is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like, do you want to live on forever as a computer, knowing what it was like to be a person, or do you remove that part of yourself from your personality so you don't really remember what it was like to be a person? Therefore, you're not really your full authentic self as a computer. Like, so how much do you like? What kind of control do you have over your own existence?
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like the first question I think of with that is like, well, who are you doing that for ultimately, though? Because if you're dead, who's that for? It's for everybody who's still here. That's not for you.
It might be for you if you're aware of your own existence and you don't want to die. See, what's his name from Captain America?
Yeah.
Gosh. Armin Zola. There it is. I knew I'd get to it.
Yeah. Zola or Zoller?
Zola.
Zola. Yeah. I get confused because Kevin Smith always says Zoller, and I'm like, wait, which one is it now?
I think that's the New Jersey accent getting to
I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. But my I was going somewhere with that. And then I got distracted by Zola.
That was my fault.
You said, like, are they actually, do you get to actually experience it, though, because you are living on in a computer? I'm like, it's a copy of you. It's not actually you, is how I see it. I understand the arguments to the contrary, but how I see it is like, but it's not really, like, the real you is gone now. And this thing is a facsimile, a very, very convincing one. But the second somebody unplugs the computer, you're gone. You know what I mean? Like, it's not real. The Amazon show Upload kind of explores this. And it's not, I'll be honest, it's not a great show, but it's fun, it's entertaining, and it does explore some of these concepts, and it goes to some interesting places where you have, a band of, like, sort of vigilante people pop up who are anti the uploaded people and want to, like, destroy them because they think that it's like an abomination, and it's like, like this. It's a very interesting sort of plausible scenario where you have the ultra rich are uploading themselves to this server in the sky, and then the 99% are starting to rise up against them because they think it's unnatural or whatever. It's a very plausible scenario.
I agree. I honestly, that is plausible, and the one I come to more than anything, like, when it comes to, like, maybe what it might be in the future for anything, is the Futurama episode I Dated a Robot.
Oh,
because I feel like that's actually, like, it's just consumer, like, abuse of people's image. Like, I feel like that's just really what it's going to get to more than anything else. Like, and if you're not familiar with the episode, it's like you can upload a celebrity's personality and looks into a blank robot, which is kind of like artificial intelligence, and they just become that celebrity, but they're programmed to then, like, be attracted to you so you can date them, or whatever the purpose is. And so so Fry dates Lucy Liu as a robot. And I just feel like there's this whole special video about, like, don't date robots, and I just like that's really, like, I feel like more than anything that, like, it's just going to end up into this weird space where we're like, this is a strange thing to be a part of. But there's a movie that's not very good, but there's a movie called The Sixth Day. Do you remember this movie?
Sixth Day.
It is a Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from like 1999, 2000, something like that. And it's a movie about cloning more than anything. So, like, the sixth day God created people, like, is really what it's about. But Schwarzenegger in the movie, his best friend, like, his girlfriend is like an artificial intelligence hard light construct where there's just a bunch of, like, lights and cameras around his apartment, and she appears when he gets home, and, like, she can, like, bring him a drink and, like, do all these things that are not real. Blade Runner does this in its own way, but one with the replicants is artificial intelligence, but then also, whatever her name is in 2049.
The Sean Young character?
No, that's the replicant. Oh my gosh. Ana
de Armas.
Yeah, whatever her character's
yeah.
name is in 2049.
Yeah.
Like that's also a different kind of artificial intelligence.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just it's all a weird place to be in on like the ground level. It feels very much to me like we're in the 90s again, and the internet is a thing, and everyone's just typing on the computer going, I'm going to use the internet to break into this, like, or whatever, and just like hit a couple of keys, right. And I'm in the Pentagon. I'm Chloe Sullivan.
Yeah.
Like,
I think we very much are going through that another tech explosion, like the web blowing up in the 90s. I think that's the right comparison. And I think we're only at the beginning of it. I think we're at like 1993 comparatively, where it's like, yeah, sure, it exists now and a lot of people have access to it, but like it's only just starting. And there are lots of people who don't think about this. We're the last generation, millennials are the last generation that can remember life before the internet, right? And even there was that transitional time where the internet existed, but it wasn't a thing you were always connected to.
Nope.
It was something you had to sit down and consciously log in, dial up, and get onto.
Highly inconvenient.
Sure. Yes. And not portable and all this stuff. You're literally tethered to a phone jack. And now it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere. And you are essentially always online. Essentially. Right? You've got a thing in your pocket that's online that if you get a message or whatever, it'll ding. So like you're essentially always online. You're essentially never away from the internet. And I think we may be heading to a world where it's like, well, you're never not using AI because it's doing something for you all the time. What do you mean? What do you mean? You like, okay, so like you logged in and just talked to a thing in a chat window, but whoa, okay, that's weird. Like the same way it's like you waited for a thing to go before you get on the internet.
And then you couldn't pick up the phone. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like you said, it might be always doing something for you, but what is it going to do for me?
That I don't know. That I can't really, I can't conceive of that yet, but that's just my imagination isn't,
it makes sense. Like arguably it is going to maybe organize my photos when I need it to, or keep my calendar straight, like a personal assistant.
Yes.
And something like that. But we're still at the point where even if I wanted to do those things, I'm going to have to double check it because sometimes it's just not going to be right.
We still are. I think we will get past that. I think we'll get past the hallucination stuff at some point. It's already getting a lot better.
Oh, for sure.
And I think we're only a couple of generations away from it being almost not a problem anymore.
When a couple generations away from it not being a problem? So we see a huge shift in we're looking at how we use the internet now as opposed to when we were kids. Let's say, let's say 25, 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Let's say 30.
Yeah.
So when we're in our 60s,
I mean generations of AI, not like human generations.
Oh, okay.
So
months apart at a time.
Right. Yeah. Like 9 months, 18 months. Those kind of leaps where it's like, from Chat GPT 3.5 to Chat GPT 4. That kind of thing. I think we're only a couple, revisions away from a place where you almost don't really need to worry about the hallucination stuff anymore. Yes, you should still check it, but it's much less of a problem than it used to be. But what if it's the whole paradigm of how you use your computer might change. You might not be opening apps and doing things. You might just be sort of just telling it to do a thing. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to sit there and physically click on open the app and wait for Photoshop to open. But you can just talk to some interface and be like, what if his head was on that person's body? Okay, yeah, let's try that. No, I don't like that. Let's put it back. And
Jarvis, Jarvis and Tony Stark.
Yeah, and it's exactly, yes, like Jarvis. And it's doing all this stuff for you. That's, I think that may, something like that, what we imagine is never what the reality becomes, right? Because our imaginations are so limited by what we know. and we can't predict something that we don't know, and that's usually how it ends up going.
And I think a lot of pop culture influences people's decisions.
Yes.
Like, like we have the cell phone because of Star Trek communicators and things like that. So, like what kind of artificial intelligence are we going to get? I don't think anybody's sitting down at the table and go, well, Terminator looks like a good avenue. We should explore that one, or HAL 9000 or whatever. But, like, truly, like, if anyone's going to go in a direction, it should be droids. Like, look at these fun, whimsical characters and their personalities whom I treasure. That would be a good one.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Like they're helpful, and they're also your friend and a member of your family.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Bicentennial Man style or whatever.
There you go. Yeah. I hope we choose positive influences like those on our AI assistants going forward. Because someone choosing the Skynet route would be sad.
I agree.
And scary. Yeah.
One last thing before we wrap up, because it's podcast related. Google has this new program called Notebook LM.
Oh yes, have you tried it?
Oh yes, and so if you upload a PDF, it'll turn just the PDF, into a podcast between two people that you can listen to. And by God, is it just like a weird satire of podcasts? I can't get over it. You listen to it and you're like, it's good. Like it's really good. And it very rarely, I uploaded something and I said, it's got like one thing wrong like it was a minor thing. They're talking about the Wizard of Oz and like how Dorothy's quest was for the ruby slippers. And I said, that's not correct. Like she already has them.
Right.
And so, but the rest was good. It was solid content. But it is funny that it's like one person is the main narrative podcaster and the other person is there to like interject their funny comment. And just they're back and forth. I'm like, why are you just coming at it every single podcasting team?
I'm in this podcast and I don't like it.
I don't like it. Yeah, no, it made me highly uncomfortable and really self-conscious of the way that everybody podcasts. That we all have just formed a style that is very much like each other, like talk radio. You just copy what you know.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
but, man, to be called out like that, like subtextually by a machine, it felt weird. Didn't like it.
Agreed. It's going to be great for studying, though. Like to be able to let me upload all my notes and you make a podcast of it for me to listen to. Mm-hmm. I'm being optimistic there, but that I'm uploading notes, whereas like students will probably upload the text they were supposed to read, and
maybe, but I mean, at least they're still getting something out of it. But I mean, they should be reading it because that's a different thing for your brain. But even then, like I didn't give it any instruction when I told it like this is, like I if you gave it instruction along with the podcast that it's going to make sure you use this language explicitly,
right?
So I can then or like this is the style of podcast that you should make it. I didn't try that either. Would be like, would you turn this into a true crime podcast? And I'm curious if it will do something like that. But
that'd be fun, yeah.
But anyway, it was fun. I prefer to stay in the it's fun stage without worrying too much.
Yes. Right now, these things are toys and they're very fun, and that's okay by me.
Yeah,
for now. Yeah.
What would be okay by me if you told everybody where they can find us?
Clever. Yes. You can find us at beerwithgeeks.com. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere else. You can find us at beerwithgeeks@gmail.com. When you are in your podcast app of choice, please do think to leave us a rating or a review. That is super, super helpful for us in terms of getting new listeners to the show. So please do check those out. Do leave ratings and reviews, and do tell a friend. That's the best thing you could do is tell a friend about Beer with Geeks. So yeah, those are some ways to help us out. And you can go to patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio if you want to help us to keep the lights on and pay the bills.
Indeed. Well, Frank, it was a great time talking to you. Well, until next time. Cheers.